Pneumonia is the end-stage dementia patient's friend. Now that title might sound harsh to some of you, but for those of you who are experiencing or who have experienced the end stages of this disease, you understand. The last stages of Alzheimer's disease is bleak and grueling. My feelings coming to this stage of our journey were coming from a place of love. My desire to have Harvey, my husband, no longer suffer. Hello, I'm Dr. Renee Harmon. I am the author of Surfing the Waves of Alzheimer's. It's a teaching memoir about my husband Harvey and his time with younger onset Alzheimer's disease, how it affected him, me, and our family. I call it a teaching memoir because each chapter is titled A Caregiving Principle and illustrated with story and with a discussion. And in the last chapter of my book, I do detail Harvey's last 2 months. But today, I'd like to discuss hospice care because I still harbor some feelings of guilt about the way I handled hospice for my husband. And I want to equip others who are approaching this in a more enlightened way and just give you the tools and the knowledge to approach this more appropriately than I did. So, number one, you should not consider hospice care as giving up on your loved one. Hospice does not prolong the life of your loved one. Hospice does not shorten the life of your loved one. Hospice improves the quality of the life that they have left. So to qualify for hospice for any cause, a physician has to certify that a patient is in a certain stage of their disease that they are likely not going to live longer than 6 months. And that's actually fairly easy to do with certain diagnoses like cancer and congestive heart failure, COPD, but it's a lot more difficult with the diagnosis of dementia. So most hospices use the FAST scale in determining if a patient with dementia qualifies for hospice. The FAST scale is a very specific staging system for Alzheimer's disease that breaks down Alzheimer's disease into 7 stages. And I've provided a link on the description of this video so that you can see that. But in stage 7, a patient can no longer feed themselves, dress themselves, toilet by themselves. They can no longer walk. They have less than 6 words, meaningful words. In addition, to qualify for hospice, the patient has to have an additional diagnosis, such as congestive heart failure, COPD, diabetes, losing 10% of their weight. So, even if you're not sure that your loved one would qualify, there is no harm in asking for an evaluation. All they can do is say they're not ready yet. And if your loved one lives past the 6 months, all that happens is hospice does another evaluation and more than likely will re-enroll them because they haven't improved. So what can you expect once your loved one is enrolled? You will be supported, your loved one and yourself will be supported by their staff, and that includes a physician, nurses, medical assistants, a social worker, and a chaplain. For your loved one, that means that they're going to get extra support and care from that staff if they're living at home with you or if they're living in a care facility. If they're in a care facility, this support is in addition to the staff that is already there at the facility. It's not instead of the staff at the nursing home or the memory care unit. It's in addition to. Hospice is completely covered by Medicare. So there are no copays, there's no deductibles, medications and supplies like adult diapers are completely covered. Grief support is offered to the family throughout the hospice time and beyond after the loved one has passed away. So I knew that Harvey would qualify for hospice once he lost the ability to walk. He met all the other qualifications. So I brought this up to the head nurse on the floor, and we had a long discussion about it. But she thought that somewhere deep in Harvey's psyche, he would think we were giving up on him if he heard the word hospice. Now, he was new to this floor. I didn't know this nurse, but mostly I was just exhausted, and I didn't fight it and just let it go. Well, 2 months later, he contracted pneumonia, and I elected not to have him treated because it was just prolonging the inevitable. And we called in hospice. He died 5 days later. Exactly how I did not want hospice to go for my husband. I've seen that played out in my practice so many times, of patients' family dragging their heels, understandably, but calling in hospice only on the last few days of a patient's life. Hospice has so much more to offer than that. And your loved one deserves the best care through all stages of this disease, even at this very last. Thank you. Be well and keep your balance.